friends, welcome to this hands-on tutorial series from the FreeCodeCamp Full Stack curriculum. I am Alain, and today we're going to build something interactive, fun and practical, which is a project idea board. Before we dive in, let us talk about someone who is changing the game. Have you ever heard of Reshma Saujani, the founder of Girls Who Code? This little story behind here is Reshma wasn't a coder by background. In fact, she was a lawyer who ran for Congress and lost. But that failure led her to discover her passion, which is closing gender gap in tech. She started Girls Who Code, and since then, her organization helped over 500,000 young girls to learn to code. Her story simply reminds us that you don't need to be perfect, you just need to be brave enough to start. So, if you're ready to start coding your own awesome projects, hit that like button and subscribe, because today you take another big step forward. So, in today's project, we're going to build a project idea board like a mini Trello-style tool using the vanilla JavaScript. You will learn to use object constant to manage statuses. You will learn to build classes to organize data, and finally, you will learn to crack and format project ideas. By the end of this video, you will have a fully functioning board that displays your project and their various status. That being said, let us code. So guys, welcome to this hands-on tutorial, as I said. So here are the user stories. So what we're going to do here is to try and fulfill the user story step by step. And what we shall do here is just try to translate this user story from simple plain English language into code. So that being said, let us read the first user story. The first user story says, you should define an object constant named project status. So to define an object const project status. Equal to sign. So that is it. And now, after defining the object, we have to create three keys, which is ending, success, and failure. So you know that every object always have a key. So when you create an object, normally the object is having keys in it. So as I said, we should create the first object. The first key here is ending. So we just copy. The second key normally is separated with the comma. The second key here is success. Double C. The third key here is failure. So now each status, which are the status here we're talking about, is pending, success, and failure. So each status should be assigned an object with a description key. So with the description key with the value pending execution, executed successfully, and project and executions failed. So it's a nested object. So an object inside another object. So now the description. try and copy here, paste it here, execution failed. So that's it for user story 1. So let's move on to the next one. The second user story says that you should define a class named project idea. Take in consideration the naming principle that they use here, because when you want to name variables, you use the camel base naming, and when you want to name classes, you have forgotten the name again, but use another something. You use another naming tool. Let me just try and check. Like very close. So, but if you know what I'm talking about, just leave a comment below. So I don't want the video to be too long. So we will have to just create a class here with the name project idea. So project idea. Okay. Now inside the class we have to create a constructor. So a constructor is just like, it helps us to create instances of that classes. So we create a constructor that takes parameter titles and descriptions. So the constructor is rather a simple constructor, like title and description here. So now what next to do? Initialize the title and description property with the provided parameter. Here we're talking about using the this keyword. So when I mean this keyword, so initialize it. So the class should also have property named status. Okay, status. Okay, and it's set so that is set to the value project status branding by default. So let's just start, say initialize it. So this, we should initialize the parameter, so title. Go down to description. Okay. So after doing that, they say that the class should have a property name status, and this thing should be searched. So this value, so project status pending. So to do that, we do that pretty the same way from status, and the value here should be project status pending. So by default, that's just the thing. So that being said, let's go on to the next user story. The next user story tells us that you should define a method name update project status. So to create a method, we don't need any special keyword, just the name and like the parentheses, something like this. So now inside the project name, inside the project class, okay, project ID class, this method should accept a new status parameter and update the status property of the given value. So as parameter, it's taking a new status. When that status is being taken, we have to just update it. So basically, you have to set it the status to the new value. That's just the thing. So let's say new status here. Sorry. So now just like kind of update it. So status, this parameter that we defined here. Hope you guys are seeing I hope you guys are seeing the code. So so this parameter that we just define here. So now after that, we just like reduce this. Increase here. Okay, so we select a new status. So that's basically what we're doing here. So the thing, like the name says, you just try to update the status of the project. So we are done with the third user story. Let's go on to the fourth user story. The fourth user story simply says that you should define the project idea board with a constructor that accepts title and initializes an empty array named ideas to hold instances of the project idea class. So that is simple. So to do that, it is project idea board. So now the constructor here. The constructor here has parameter as title, and inside the constructor we shall initialize title first of all with this keyword, and after that initialize an array, empty array named ideas. So to do that is basically as we did forward, so as we did up there. So it's like title is equals to title. The next one to do here is to initialize the empty array for ideas. So that's how it's been done, as you can see. So the next step, that's the next user story, which is the fifth user story, is asking us to define a method named bin inside the project idea board class. So inside this class here. So this bin method will accept an instance of project idea class and pushes the given instance to the idea array. So basically here this method is just take a new project idea and push it inside this empty project array. So to do that is very simple. So we take a new idea, and what happened? We push it. So we push it. Use the push method, array method. So that's basically what we say. That's all. So we took a new idea and we push it inside this empty array. That's all about the fifth user story. So now the sixth user story is telling us that we have to create a method named onBin inside the project idea board. So basically inside the same class, this method should accept an instance from the project idea class and remove it from the ideas array. So the array for ideas. So yeah, basically what they're asking us to do is that we should look for an array. We should look for the idea that has been given. We look for the idea that has been passed on to the onBin method, and we should go and remove exactly that idea inside the array. So we shall analyze it together. Let's first of all write the method. So here. So now the first thing we have to do is, first of all, since we have gotten the idea and we know that every ideas have been stored inside the array. So to go and look for a specific idea inside an arrays of ideas, first of all, we need to have the index of that idea. So the first thing we shall do is to try to find the index of the idea being passed inside the method onBin. So let's say index. So these ideas. So the method that we shall use to find the index of the idea being passed in the method onBin is indexOf. So you can just go and, if you don't know much about it, I really recommend you guys to go and check the documentation. Sorry. So indexOf. So basically take in the array, the element that you're looking for, and returns its index. So the index inside the array, for example, bison here is the index is 1, so 0, 1. But that's basically what it does. So index of idea. So that was the first step. So the first step was to go and check, to go on to have the index. Now the second step is to remove the idea from the array. So the idea from the arrays of ideas. So the first thing we have to do here is to first of all check if the index that we look for is a valid index. So to do that, we use an if constructor, and we shall check whether the index is not equals to -1. Because if it's equals to -1, it's not a valid index. So what we're basically doing here is error handling. So now, after doing that, we have to remove the idea, the given idea or the passed parameter from the array ideas. And to do that is very simple. We shall use a method array, which is spice. So to learn more about it, as I said, I recommend you to go and look at the documentation. Here is it. So let me just remove it. Spice. So it will get from the index up till 1. It will get from the index to 1. So as you can see, here is it. Here is how it's working. So basically, it will have here is the syntax. So the start, where we should start by 1. So we started by index that we found. So basically the index that we look for, and the number of the delete count. So the number of elements we shall delete. So the number of elements we shall delete here is only 1. So basically this method globally helps us to remove to remove the idea that's been passed through the method onBin. So we are done with the set user story. So let's go on. So the third one, the next one is the 7th, which says that we should create a method name count that returns the number of project ideas in the given project idea array. So this one, let me just give you some 5 seconds just to guess what we should do here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you had it right, normally we are supposed to just look for the length of the array and return it. That's just it. So we shall just create the method. Let me see it up here. Okay. So create the method count with no parameter and return what? This idea get access to the idea, to the array ideas, which is found in the class project idea board learned. That's just it. So that's just it about it. Sorry. So now what's the next user case? The last one, number 8, which is asking us to, you should define a method named formatString. Okay. Method name formatString. So string, sorry, that's string. So what it says that we should define a method of formatString that returns. Let me just increase this version. It's fine. So that returns the name of the project and the description, and their description and their descriptions that use in a format like this. So here's the format in which we have to return the array. So let me just move up this camera so that you can see better. If you want to do this better. So now to do that it's not that complicated. It's just that you have to take time and try to understand it. So let me just give me a minute. Let's increase here. Take snippet row. So normally here is our output. So normally this is how we should format to string should return a project. So we have this like first layer, second layer, first layer, second layer, and third layer. So we shall basically use some JavaScript method to make sure that looks like this. So that's just the thing. So let me just go behind, close it, and try and do something interesting. So forward and go. So let's just go. So the first thing to do is to try to let me see how do I say it. So you should try first of all to do this first line. So to try and have to output this first line. And to do that is basically simple. So we'll create an array, a variable named result. So I use the let keyword here because I want to update the result. So basically the idea here is that I want to create the first layer, the first line of string, and concatenate the rest of the line. So that's just the idea behind what I'm trying to do here. So we shall use here string template and try to okay. The first thing that we should use here is the title. So as you can see, the project board title is the first thing. And the second one variable that we should use here is a project idea board count. That's the idea. So to do that is very simple. So this title. Okay. The next one we have to do is this project has, so the second variable counts the number of second variable here is the number of project ideas. So the name of the variable is it a variable? It's not a variable. Yeah, it's a method. Yeah, because here's a method that we did here. So count method. So the count method will return the length of the array, and what we shall have here at the end is ideas. So just to have the same strings, to have the same result. And first of all, we want that the next arrays that will come forward will be concatenated. So the next strings that will come next, the next string will go on to the next line. So to do that, I'm talking about these strings here. Okay. So to do that, it's simple. We use this special symbol to say that anything that comes next, or anything that's been concatenated next, we want it to be in the next. We want it to be on the next line. So that's what we did here. So now the next part is to try and do this thing. output these two next line. So basically here we're trying to output every single project idea inside that array. And the best way to output objects or to output arrays element is to use the for each array method. So as I said, always use the documentation. So here's how the thing is working. So as I said, this is how it's working, the for each method. So to do that is very simple. We first of all get access to the array. Now we connect that array to the for each method. So following the for each syntax. So the for each method is using what we call arrow functions. So to do that is simple. So it's a function inside a function. So it's a method, it's a function inside a method. So let's just leave that. So like this. So after doing that, we shall define the function, how the function will work basically. So as I said, we created at the beginning this result variable, and I want that we should concatenate the other lines, the next line, so that follows. So to do that is simple to this and this. That's just it. So after doing that, like okay, we are done. We have to call in the variables. So the first thing, following the format that was given to us, which is project ideas, idea title, project idea status description, and project idea description. Okay, to do that is simple. Use complete literal. The first project we call for, the first variable we call, we use is the idea title, which is found inside the idea array. Let's say that. No, sorry, which is found inside the idea array, because we're trying to call the title of every idea inside the idea array. Why is it not working? Okay. So now the next thing we shall do, we shall look for the idea status inside the ideas. So what we should do here is this, and inside this variable we shall just try and call the idea status, which is this idea status description. So basically the idea description. Okay, that's it that we did here. So the next thing we shall do here, on the next variable we shall call here, is the idea descriptions. The idea description. So here is basically the same thing. We should always make sure that it respects the format that we are trying to output. So this format like this I'm talking about. So now is idea description. That's it. And we want that because this output is only from one line, so it's only for one idea, and an array of ideas can have many elements. So we want that it should display the same thing for every array element. So, but we don't want also that the display should be concatenated. So we want that the first array element to be displayed, the next one should be displayed on the next line. So to do that, we use the symbol that we use at the beginning. So this symbol. So with that, we are done. With that, we are done. So now what we have to do is just to return the array, the result. And to do that is result trim. This method just helps us to. So this trim method, that's exactly how we pronounce it, just help us to remove the white spaces at the beginning of a result. So of result word at the beginning of a string. So that's how it's doing. To learn more about it, basically go and look inside the documentation, try to understand what we're talking about here. So that being said, we have covered all the user stories. So I really hope the explanation was well done. So now a good practice here is by separating data, that is project idea, and structure idea board. But when you do that, you make your code easier to be maintainable. So, and I also advise you to try and test your classes with methods. By creating object instances of the classes and try to test if all these methods are working. So now about helpful tips, I can give you some tips. So when you're using, for example, indexOf, as I said here above, I'll use it here. When you're using indexOf on an object, make sure you are passing the exact object, not just one with the same data. So it's very important. So that being said, we are done with the project. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. So if it helps you level up, give a thumb up, comment below what's the next big idea you would love me to hear about it, also you love me to talk about. So please don't also forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any project or anything about this channel. So until next time, keep learning, keep building, and always remember you belong in tech. Peace and happy coding. Thank you guys.